What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be dealing with the most recent events in the Boku no Hero story, and the fact that some of our favorite characters from Class 1A are now in mortal danger. We're talking about Momo, Jiro, Kirishima, Mina, Kaminari, our boy Mineta, and many more. One or more of these characters could be dead in the next few chapters. This is no joke, so let's get into it. If you enjoyed the Boku no Hero content on this channel and you want us to keep it going, please leave a like to let me know, it really does help. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar or you just haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. A big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons who make videos like this one possible. With the current state of YouTube and the world, patron support means more than ever, so thank you so much. I'll talk more about Patreon at the end of this video, but first, please be advised that this video will contain Boku no Hero manga spoilers. We are dealing with the very latest events in the story, so please proceed with caution, you have been warned. The latest chapter opens up with the students and heroes who are near the villain mansion but not on the front lines, realizing that Gigantomachia has awakened and that he is coming their way. Jiro is the first to notice thanks to her earphone jack, which is able to detect the fact that something huge is on the move. The actual pro heroes who are there on the scene decide to join the other heroes on the front lines, but they tell the students to stay back. Meanwhile, Mount Lady and the other heroes at the mansion are still doing their very best to hold Gigantomachia back, but it's just too hard. Gigantomachia is so big right now that he dwarfs in size even Mount Lady, and if that wasn't enough, he is also carrying a bunch of villains on his back. It turns out that along with Dabi, Toga, and Mr. Compress, Spinner and Skeptic are also there on top of Machia. In fact, Gigantomachia was the one who placed the villains on his back before leaving the mansion as per Shigaraki's orders. Skeptic actually wants to be put down so he can stay and protect Redestro, but Dabi explains that Shigaraki must have awakened ahead of schedule and Machia is only following his master's orders. Gigantomachia is completely focused on carrying out these orders, and he is determined to get to Jakku no matter how many heroes try to stand in his way. Now that I think about it, Machia is actually a pretty big simp for his master, but that's neither here nor there. The heroes at and around the mansion are surprised to see that Machia is awake. Prior to the beginning of the raid, they were all assured that this so-called walking disaster wouldn't become an issue, and that's because he doesn't move unless he receives direct orders from All For One or Shigaraki. Since All For One is in Tartarus and Shigaraki was unconscious when the raids began, the heroes assumed that Machia would just remain motionless. However, something clearly went wrong in Jakku because Machia just became the major threat for all the heroes at the mansion. These heroes are now doing their best to help Mount Lady, whose strength is giving out, but Machia's skin is too thick for any of their attacks to pierce through. His back looks like a jagged cliff, and trying to take him down is like trying to take down a mountain. But even though Gigantomachia is now the biggest threat to the heroes, he is definitely not the only one. Ice Boy Getten is still on the battlefield and he is facing off against Cementos. I always love seeing Cementos when he loses his cool, and in this particular moment, Cementos is going all out and screaming at Getten. Even the veins on his head are popping out, it's pretty crazy. I'll say this much about Cementos. He definitely turned out to be a lot more badass than we were led to believe when the story first started. At first, I saw him as just this calm and harmless teacher, but when he gets excited, Cementos is not someone you want to mess with. At the same time as Cementos is fighting Getten, Edgeshot is going head to head against Redestro, and it seems that Redestro has been able to get his legs back, although I'm not sure exactly how he did it. Nevertheless, he is now able to use his super move again, the one that turns him into a stressed out Dark Hulk. Redestro has also realized that Shigaraki must have awakened early, and he instructs all of the Liberation Army soldiers to follow behind Gigantomachia. Redestro proclaims that this is the beginning of their revolution, and all the villains get pumped up by this and they rush after Machia. Meanwhile, Kamui Woods is carrying Midnight on his back and they are attempting to get closer to Machia's face. Since physical attacks don't work against Machia because his body is so impenetrable, Midnight wants to neutralize him using her sleeping gas quirk. Kamui and Midnight arrive just as Machia overpowers Mount Lady and takes off running. Kamui is of course concerned about Mount Lady, but Midnight tells him that they can't lose focus. They have to get as close to Machia's face as possible and put him to sleep. If they can't stop Machia from getting to Jakku, that entire city will be faced with a disaster of epic proportions. At his current size, Machia will level the whole city in a matter of minutes, and he will surely annihilate everything else that stands in his path. Unfortunately for Kamui and Midnight, as they get closer to Machia's face, they finally realize that other villains are riding on top of his back. Compress uses his quirk to throw a bunch of marbles at the heroes, which then turn into large boulders while in midair. Compress, of course, has the ability to shrink large objects and even people in these marbles, and then release them and turn them back to their normal size whenever he wants. As a result of this attack, Midnight is knocked down to the ground, and her attempt to put Machia to sleep flops, and flops hard. Midnight is disappointed in herself, but she knows that there is no time to waste and that she has to come up with some other plan. She briefly thinks about which quirk could be strong enough to stop Machia, and in the end she decides to contact Momo. And so, Midnight tells Momo that even though it is against the law, Momo must use her quirk Creation to make a powerful sleeping agent. I'm thinking that this is gonna be some sort of military grade substance that will be strong enough to put down even the gigantic Machia. As the Liberation Front members who are following Gigantomachia catch up to an injured Midnight, she puts her faith in Momo. She tells Momo to make the sleeping agent, give it to one of the pro heroes, and then take the other students and evacuate immediately. And that is the last that we hear of Midnight, because the villains have arrived and the connection between Momo and Midnight is severed. Momo is now under a lot of pressure as a result of this situation. She doesn't know what to do. Midnight trusted her to use her own judgment, but she doesn't know if she should just run away in order to keep all the other students safe, or stand and fight, even though that would mean putting her life and the lives of all of the other students at risk. Ultimately, Momo decides that they can't just run away with their tails between their legs, and she tells Jiro to use earphone jack to determine how long they have before Machia arrives. Momo also tells Mudman and the other students to get ready, because Machia is about to arrive and they need to work together in order to find a way to stop him. Jiro then warns everyone that Gigantomachia is approaching extremely quickly. She doesn't even need to use her quirk because she can see Machia and he will arrive in less than 10 seconds. In this moment, the situation appears to be hopeless. 10 seconds isn't nearly enough time for the students to come up with a real strategy. But then, out of nowhere, Mount Lady is able to recover from her earlier fall, and with the help of Kamui's quirk, she grabs hold of Machia's leg. This slows down Machia, but only slightly. He is still moving, only now he is forced to also drag Mount Lady along with him as he moves. As all of this is happening, Momo is already using Creation to produce canisters of that sleeping agent that the students will try to use to stop Machia. She hands the canisters out to the other students as they all vow to stand their ground and defend their honor as heroes. They might still be students, but they are also on a hero mission. They are wearing their hero costumes, and they have to live up to their hero values and principles, even in the face of imminent danger. And that is how this chapter ends, with all the students preparing to face off against one of the strongest villains in the history of MHA. And as strong as Machia is, he isn't even the only threat that is approaching. Riding on his back are a bunch of other overpowered villains, including Toga and Dabi, and yet more villains are following on foot. So, if the students engage in a battle against Machia, and it appears that they will also have to be battling all the other villains. I have to say, I am truly proud of Momo and the other students for how they acted in this insane and stressful moment, and I am really rooting for all of them. But at the same time, I am extremely worried for their safety. These are not just some minor characters that we are talking about here. We have a bunch of Class 1A students here, characters that we have grown to love since the very beginning of the story. including of course Momo, but also Jiro, Kirishima, Mina, Kaminari, Ojiro, Sato, and the true protagonist of the entire series, Minoru Mineta. Not to mention the Class 1B students who are here as well, including Juzo and Tetsu. The lives of every single one of these students is now in direct danger, and it is possible that some of them will die within the next few chapters. I think that if they can come up with a good team strategy, these students will definitely be a formidable force. But at the end of the day, they are not facing off against a few minor or even mid-level villains. They are about to face off against a walking mountain and some of the strongest villains in the story, including DlE. It's really hard for me to believe that villains the likes of Machia and DlE won't succeed in reaching Jakku. Their presence there is practically required for a fully satisfying final showdown. With Endeavor fighting Shigaraki, now has to be the time that Horikoshi finally plans to have that fateful encounter between Enji and DlE. So while I look forward to seeing what kind of strategy the students will come up with, and while I wish them the best of luck, I don't think that they will succeed in stopping the villains altogether. Although they might slow them down or potentially stop some of them from continuing the trip to Jakku. I mean, think about it. If all of these experienced pro heroes like Cementos, Edgeshot, Mount Lady, and Fatgum couldn't stop Gigantomachia, is it really fair to expect the students to stop him? Except for a few exceptions like Kaminari and Tokoyami, these students were never even supposed to see any direct action. They were never supposed to be on the front lines, and yet now they find themselves facing off against some of the strongest villains to ever appear in the Boku no Hero world. And not only is Gigantomachia strong, but he is also fanatically obsessed with carrying out his master's orders. And he will do literally anything to get where he needs to go, even if that means killing everyone in his path. I really don't know how to feel about this situation. On the one hand, I love that the students are stepping up in a time of crisis like true heroes would. But on the other hand, I am extremely worried that some of my favorite characters could lose their lives. All of these students are an important part of the whole Class 1A dynamic that we've come to love, and as such, they play a major role in the story as a whole. Let me know what you guys think. Are the students actually going to succeed in stopping Machia, or are they just going to slow him down temporarily? Are any of the other villains like DlE, Toga, Spinner, etc. going to be taken out by the students? And do you think that any of the students could actually be seriously injured or even killed during this battle? Please let me know what you think is going to happen next down in the comments below. This is definitely intense. So far, the much more intense battle was obviously at Jakku, but now the stakes are almost just as high back at the villain mansion. Some of our favorite characters could be in serious trouble, and the next few chapters could change everything. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Boku no Hero content on the channel, please leave a like to let me know. It really does help. And if you're new to AnimeUproar or you just haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to turn on all notifications. The way that YouTube works now, you really have to go through the trouble of hitting that bell and then selecting the option that says all. If you don't do that, you're gonna miss a ton of our videos even if you're subscribed. I don't know why that's how it is, but that's how it is. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. I want to give a big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons for making videos like this one possible. Special thanks to all of our The One tier patrons, the ones who rise above all other clans, including Ingrata, Alolanatum, The World, Steelers, A Quiet Respect, Pate Heffa, Jonathan King, Brandon Aviles, Papa Smurf, The School Bus, King Riser, Emperor Otaku, Ricardo Martinez, Thomas Jones, Kinmano, Michael Hyde, and Jaden the Vector. And I can't forget all of our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, King Zeldris, Anatoly Kazatsky, Angel Cruz, Cricket XP, Joe Stanton, Very Gucci, Alicia Octer, Jessica Kayla Fond, Hinokami and Water, Bonnie Parks, Zodiart12, Rathuin Deora, Kraken, Arels, and Deadly Saint. If you enjoy our videos and you feel that they provide value to you, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos along with these amazing people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.